Today we're going to write our first computer program, and we're going to write it in a programming language called Java. And we're going to use a piece of software called Eclipse to help us do that. So if you go into the Eclipse directory and start up the Eclipse program, when it starts it'll ask you where you want to store your files. Just check the directory is a sensible place to store them, and if you're happy, click OK. Eclipse is what's known as an integrated development environment, which just makes writing software easier. Now when it first starts up, it may well start on the welcome screen like this, or it might have a minimized version of the welcome screen. Just close it for now because you don't need to use it and it takes up screen space. At some stage you may well want to take a look around the welcome screen. You can get back to it through the help menu, and then you can take a look at what's new, samples, tutorials and so forth, all about Eclipse, and it'll teach you to use it better. But for now let's just close it and let's start our new first project. So if we go to File, New, Java Project, it will create a new project for us, and let's call our project Hello World. There's a click Finish when you've done that. There's a bit of a tradition in computing that the first program you write in any language is called Hello World. If you Google that, you'll be able to find out where that tradition comes from. So once we have our project, right click on the project, New Class or Class, depending on where you come from. And we're going to call our class Hello World as well. We traditionally call classes, we start them with capitals, and when we have new words we put another capital. We don't put any spaces or anything in them. So let's call it Hello World, and it starts to write the program for us. So it's defined our new class, but we have to fill in the detail of what we want it to do. So I'm going to just type in the code. Now as I type, you will notice there are lots of nasty red crosses appearing, and that's because until I finish typing my program isn't syntactically correct. Computer languages are incredibly fussy about exactly what you write, what you're allowed to write, because they get mapped into the instruction a computer uses. So it's really important to copy exactly what I'm writing. You'll notice as I'm typing, the Eclipse is also trying to help me all the time, giving me hints and tips and auto completions. I'm ignoring most of it and just doing what I want because I know what I want to write. But you can use that help later on. So I've finished my program. All it says is this first thing is known as a method, and the method is called main. Don't worry too much about what all the other commands say at the moment. Main is the first method that any program runs. So when this program starts, it will run this method, and it just has one command in it that says print out the words Hello World. So if I save that and I run it, hey presto, our program has printed out Hello World, and you've written your first program. What you might then want to do is just make it do a few other things. So if I just copy that line and paste it in, and I'll just add in Hello World from Mr. Darnell. There we go. And if I save that and run it, you might notice it's put everything together. It didn't know to start a new line. Just because there's a new line in the program, it doesn't mean the output has a new line. And we may well want to tell it we want a new line after world, and there's a special way of doing that. We use what's known as an escape sequence. So \n means put out a new line character, so start a new line. So if I save that and run it, you'll see it now says Hello World from Mr. Darnell. And in fact, if I wanted to, I can put that escape sequence anywhere I want. So I can put it in the middle of that, what's known as a string. Save it, run it, and now my output has changed again. What you'll find when you're editing programs is you sometimes make changes and you didn't particularly want to make that change. And the beauty of using an environment like Eclipse is if I right click on Hello World and I go to this team area, I can go to show local history, and the program has remembered all the different versions I've saved of this program. So if I decided I wanted to go back to one of them, I just click on there. This is obviously a version where before I made those changes, and I can right click on it and say get contents. Do I want to replace the current version revision with this selected revision? Yes. Just close that and you'll see it's gone back to that version. Although maybe I changed my mind and decided I did like the original one, the changed one after all. And I can do the same. I can go back to that version and say get contents. Shall I replace it? Yes. Close there, and again it's switched back to the newest version. So a bit handy when you're editing things and you have versions coming and going. So there we go, our first program running. Let's move on.